The majority of Japanese candlestick signals are reversals, and here are two more, the hammer and the hanging man. These are one candlestick patterns too. They have long lower shadows and small bodies, which are in the upper third of the price range. Surprisingly, it doesn't matter whether the candles are black or white. When you find one on a downtrend, it's signalling that the trend's life is near to an end, and the candlestick is called a hammer. A similar candle on an uptrend signals the end of that trend, and once again a reversal signal for an uptrend has a sinister name. It's called the hanging man, and indeed it promises anything but good for the life of said trend. The hammer and the hanging man have three identifying features. 1. The body is in the upper third of the price range. 2. The lower shadow is twice the length of the body. And 3. The candle doesn't have an upper shadow, or the shadow is very short. You'll have noticed that hammers and hanging men are very similar to doji. The main difference is that the hammer and the hanging man have bodies, albeit small bodies. They are bodies nevertheless. What we want are long lower shadows, short upper shadows and small bodies. Though the bodies can either be black or white, a white hammer body tells us that during the period prices fell, but then a revival began with price closing near the high. It says that the bull enthusiasm is strengthening. A black hanging man says that the closing price could not return to the opening price level. The long lower shadow illustrates the bull's nervousness. Altogether, it points to the strengthening of the bears. Mark my words now, it's especially important to wait for further bearish confirmation when you have a hanging man on your hands. Just imagine the situation. The market is crackling with bullish energy. The next period opens at the previous high or near to it, then price falls dramatically, then it rises again and closes somewhere in the top third of the period range. There's your hanging man. The candlestick alone is insufficient to make it a reversal signal. Nevertheless, we can take it as a wake-up call. If the next candle opens below the hanging man's body, those who had bought within the body of the hanging man would be left exposed and in danger of finding themselves in a far worse position. A gap is the traditional confirmation of the hanging man's reversal signal, and the wider the gap, the more emphatic the confirmation. Of course, we know that price gaps are less frequent on the forex market than they are on the commodities and equities markets, and for forex, an alternative bearish confirmation is that the candlestick following the hanging man is black, with price maxing and closing lower than the hanging man's max and close. Another confirmation is when a gravestone follows immediately on from our virtual execution, an apt ending no doubt, but also a final death knell for the trend. If a white candlestick follows on from the hanging man, then basically what happens next is anyone's guess. The signal has failed, and you can only wait for fresh signals, which could as easily be bullish as bearish. The hammer should also be confirmed, with bullish confirmation this time of course. So what you're waiting for is a white candlestick or maybe a dragonfly to confirm the signal. However, the hammer has more potency than the hanging man. So if a black candlestick follows the hammer but has a higher low than the hammer low, we can accept the low of the hammer as the probable low for the whole bearish movement. Nevertheless, I wouldn't act on a hammer until I got one of those further bullish confirmations. Japanese candlesticks, like other forms of chart analysis, are observation-based rather than rule-based. The hammer and the hanging man don't have to be perfectly proportioned. Just remember, the longer the lower shadow is, the more potent the signal.